the beginning, the Nasu continent from the year 1424 is shown, where the Great Stallion War is at its peak. Different creatures are striking their swords against the enemy, with many losing their lives. Flames and blood are everywhere as the Demon King marches on. Anyone who tries to resist has to say his final goodbye. Breathing in despair, praying for a miracle, people say a warrior emerging from the darkness, and that's where the opening theme of this role-playing game, Paradiso, ends. The warrior, who is the leading character, will have the mission of defeating the Demon King and developing the lands. The story begins with the protagonist spending hours playing Paradiso and developing his charming character, and turning into an old veteran. The evidence of his intense affection for this game is that he ranked #1 for 10 years straight as a power blogger on this game's information site. However, his love for the game was too much. Overworking himself led to health deterioration, which ultimately became the cause of his death. "Am I seriously going to die a virgin?" At the old age of 30, screamed a chubby young guy wreathed in sweat as he woke up in his bed. "My lord, did you have a nightmare?" says the maid, standing by his bed. The boy, confused about what's happening, looks around the room, which happens to be a big royal bedroom with a large door, and lots of pictures and paintings hanging on the huge wall. The other side of his room had large windows bringing in ample sunlight, and a beautiful chandelier hanging from the roof. Having no clue of his whereabouts, the chubby guy asks the maid about this place. Both confused, the guy realizes that he has been reincarnated as an obese character of some game. The details of this in-game character are finally shown. The character's name is Jared, who is still on level 1 with a condition of extreme obesity. His obesity is so extreme that his expected lifespan has dropped by 20 years. The protagonist now stands in front of the mirror, wondering how he died and turned into a cow, questioning how his character has been so fat for 10 years and his stats not being any better than his looks. After calming himself, the protagonist starts to remember his previous name, Shin Ti-Pong, who died from exhaustion and is resurrected as a fat, young noble named Jared. Jared noticed the game UI was like the one in Paradiso, and the calendar used is also the Nasu calendar, so it can be safely assumed that he has been resurrected in Paradiso. However, the game is now his reality. Sweating started again and his face turned pale as Jared realized that he will soon die. The year he is resurrected is 1414 of the Nasu calendar, so in about 10 years, the War of the Great Stallion will begin and the army of the Demon King is going to turn everything into ashes. A fat guy like him cannot even run away. The Demon King's army is not the only problem. In about 5 years, this world of Paradiso will have to face the toughest time. Droughts, famine, and natural disasters will take place simultaneously. Such conditions always bring the worst out of people, and soon they will start fighting each other, initially at a lower level, but once the situation gets worse, countries will scrabble for food, starting the Great Nasu War. Once the war breaks out and nations go up against each other, a fat noble will just be an easy kill. Realizing this fact made Jared's sweat glands go crazy and his breath starts to feel heavy. After accepting fate, Jared's mood turns foul as he smacks his hand in anger, screaming how even the #1 blogger of Paradiso, the Paradiso Encyclopedia, was also unaware of this fat dude's existence, showing how unimportant this character is. Jared questions fate and how he could have been given a handsome male character who leads a happy and satisfied life. The chair he was sitting on felt the intensity of his anger and its leg cracked, throwing our sad huge Jared on the floor. Jared had memories of his younger self, who was slim and smart with big blue eyes and golden hair tied up nicely. Such a guy should have grown up to be a handsome man, Jared thought while lying on the floor. Lying in despair wouldn't do any good, so Jared picked himself up, setting the goal of losing some weight by using the bugs in this game to his advantage. If he was a smart guy in the character's past, why can't he be a smart guy now? Jared thought while, quite hard, getting up on his feet. Jared's intention was clear in his eyes and the expressions showed his sheer will. Jared decided to use his intense knowledge of the game to turn whatever situation he was put in to his advantage. Jared is not going to accept this future. Instead, he has decided to carve his own, better future. What is the better future for him? As the future is already known to him, the best approach will be unifying the world and leading it from the front as its king. Jared's goal is clear now. Just when the maid was busy cleaning up the library, wondering how it has been so long since Master Jared stepped foot here, Jared rushed in and started turning the library upside down. The maid, who goes by the name Hayes, asks what her master is looking for, to which he responded that he's looking for the keepsakes his father left him. Hayes found what seemed to be a golden necklace with a reddish stone carved in between and brought it to Jared. His face lightened up and the maid got so happy to be of help to him. As Jared already had enough knowledge of the game, he knew what the keepsake his father left did. It was an artifact that helped in growing the magical abilities. Therefore, what Jared planned to do with it was to break it. It was the only thing his father left him, and he wanted to cherish it, but there was no other way for a weak fourth-class magician to summon her. As soon as Jared breaks the stone, the whole room turns dark, and as soon as Jared breaks the stone, the whole room turns dark and black smoke emerges in the form of a tornado and reshapes into her, the being that can only be summoned once in the whole lifetime, the evil spirit of Isabella. Seeing her in front of him, Jared smirked as he knew exactly what he was going to do. Huge body, long golden hairs extending from her head, scary red eyes, and triangular teeth of Isabella could easily scare anyone. But Jared knew that Isabella hates cowards and prefers calm, lazy people, so he will get on her good side. Without wasting any time, Jared screamed that he wants the Mind Eye. Isabella bursts out in laughter and makes fun of him by calling him too greedy. Mind Eye was only possessed by one user in the entirety of Paradiso. It's a skill that allows the user to view the stats and disposition of every individual. However, the user's level plays a vital role in procuring the information. The higher the level, the more information he could gain. Jared plans to use this skill to manage his territory and manage the future stars to appear on his land. To Jared's surprise, nothing comes free of cost. Isabella formed a contract that would grant the Mind Eye to Jared, but whatever Jared holds the dearest will be given to Isabella. Money, honor, family, or anything closest to Jared's heart will have to be given up. Feeling the fear in his bones, Jared somehow managed to calm himself and thinks a way to turn the tables. Boom. The idea came to him, and an evil smirk was seen on his face. Isabella could read Jared's mind, so all he had to do was make something up and keep thinking of it as the most treasured thing. Jared went on to disclose his most treasured thing, which Isabella would have to take away immediately: 34 years old Shin T-Pong's first kiss. Isabella couldn't believe what she had gotten herself into. Jared easily outsmarted the smart Isabella and enjoys his first kiss with the evil spirit. Hence, the everlasting contract between Isabella and Jared is formed. The scene changed, and now Hayes, with a pile of books, is running towards Jared's room when she passes the two other maids of the house who were discussing how strange it is to see a lazy fat guy who keeps himself locked in the room to be charging out of it suddenly. The pile of books contained information about the surrounding territories that Jared requested. Jared used his Mind Eye on Hayes to see her stats and noticed that Hayes was already on level 8 with an S-class devotion, and a class unrequited love among 5 different special tendencies. With so many special abilities, Jared realized that Hayes would be a waste as a maid and decided to make her a healer. After handing over the papers, Hayes apologized for her repetitive mistakes. Noticing her fear, Jared remembered how this fat guy used to slap her on minor errors. Feeling bad for her, Jared approached Hayes and hugged her while screaming how sorry he is for his behavior in the past. Jared promised that he would change for the better. Tears of happiness started rolling down Hayes' cheeks, and that's where this wholesome interaction ends. At the dinner, our protagonist avoided everything with fats and focused only on vegetables and herbs. Determined to lose weight, Jared swallowed the Paradiso's vegetables that, apparently, were so bland that nobody would eat them willingly. Multiple windows from the system started to appear in front of Jared as his metabolism increased and calories start to burn. Just as Jared was about to throw up from foul taste, Hayes brought him a delicious steak. In the northern part of the kingdom lies Caribbean territory with extremely cold weather, zero farming, and lots of bandits and monsters. Being a poor place, Caribbean has easy quests, but Jared's stats are even low to develop a territory like Caribbean, so for now, he focuses on making himself better. Suddenly, we see a flashback of 10 years ago where a certain man is standing at Jared's door, trying to console him on his father's death while Jared keeps himself locked in. Back to the present, Jared called a meeting of all officials of his state of Caribbean. Chief City Guard, Sir Glogas, a red-haired drunk guy with zero etiquette, was the first one to reach. As he was trying to flirt with Hayes, another noble, Sir Rakis, interrupted him and a harsh exchange of words take place. An old man intervenes and asks them to join the meeting. Everyone at the meeting table is surprised by this sudden call and seeing how Jared is indulged in reading the documents. Sir Glogas couldn't absorb this new Jared, so he suggests our hero abandon the meeting and go for some drinks. This was usual for Sir Glogas. He would seduce Jared, so his deeds were overlooked. Rakis was about to lose his calm when Jared did the unexpected. Unlike before, Jared scolded Glogas on showing up to this meeting drunk and cast a laser beam magic spell that went right through his bottle of wine, and Jared made sure that this was his final warning to Glogas. Everyone was shocked on seeing Jared acting like a real king. Jared then proceeded with how Glogas abused his power to gain wealth and concluded that there is only one solution to gain back his people's trust. Glogas was stripped of his authority as chief guard of the city. Moreover, he warned everyone that all those involved in corruption will have to pay. Most of the nobles, frightened to meet the same fate as Glogas, bowed down in apology and begged for another chance. Sir Rakis was given the rank of public chief guard of Caribbean as there was no one who could disagree. Jared ended the meeting. Some of the dignity was regained by him which he lost over the course of 10 years. A month later, in an abandoned house somewhere in Caribbean, a mob was unlawfully collecting taxes. These were Glogus's men, and even though he had not shown up for a month, his men would still exploit the locals. Meanwhile, doorbell rings and one of the men went to the door and saw a fat guy standing outside. This fat guy is our guy Jared, who, along with Sir Rakis, was eliminating the injustice himself. Some action is then seen when Sir Rakis, the new chief guard, beats up the mob. The leader of the mob tried to escape from the back door with the money, but unluckily, Jared came into his way, and he was met with the legendary magic missile. People were overwhelmed to finally see action taken against the injustice. Free food was given to the poor, criminals were being arrested, and songs were sung in appreciation of the king finally taking charge. Trust was finally being regained, and Jared was also happy with the work of Sir Rakis. Jared used his mind eye to assign competent soldiers to Rakis to make his job easier. Although Isabella was still nagging on about returning the mind eye as she realized how Jared tricked her. The next issue was the low agricultural harvest, as Jared's mind eye is no good in situation like this. To save reserves, they need local production for their people, but that has been an issue for quite some time now. Jared was thinking of a solution when Rakis noticed him sitting with hands on his belly. This was basically a Paradiso bug that let Jared increase his mana by reabsorbing what he emits. Suddenly, a knight rushes in the room to report about the search party Jared sent out. A bandit camp was found in the coal mines, and they had taken in slaves. Flashback from a year ago is shown where two fighters are crossing their swords. A 14-year-old girl is enjoying the visuals of the fight. This kid, Lena, will be working as a maid in Jared's mansion soon. However, what she really wanted was to become a skilled warrior like them. Her elder sister and brother burst out in laughter and then moves on to explain why mercenary is always short on numbers. It's because how dangerous the real world is. Most of them had to face this reality with death. However, gender has nothing to do with it. What matters is the willpower, talent, and effort. Given how talented Rena is, she is sure to become a great warrior. Lena's face lightens up as she hears this from her siblings. The flashback ends and Rena is seen sitting in the dark, chained from her feet and neck, scratches all over her body, and with a traumatized face, enslaved Lena calls out for her brother and sister. Lena was remembering the director of her orphanage, who has always been nice to her. However, the guys who enslaved her told that director was the one who sold her to them. Lena couldn't believe that and yelled that they are lying. Director was going to make her a noble maid. The bandits laughed at her, and when she tried to argue more, a guy used his whip to shut her up. Since a month, she had been spending her time behind the bars. There, she met another slave, who was also her age fellow, and told her that all orphans from Mayorica are auctioned as slaves. That is how it has always been, and the director, most probably, was in it as well. Lena, however, refused to give up and was keen on finding a way to escape. The other girl, Manny, suggested to get along until they die in this hell. Another month passed and both became very close friends. Most of the other slaves were sold quickly, and time passed until they both reached the peak selling age of 15. In the period of 6 months, Lena and Manny got used to the harsh labor in Caribbean. Manny shared the knowledge of this world with Lena and how the situation is getting worse than ever because of an incompetent leader. Upon asking how Manny knew this much, she told Lena that she simply hears what the bandits are always talking about. As Caribbean's primary mission has always been monster hunting, so mercenaries' chance of showing up here is slim. Hence, Lena's brother or sister might not show up here anytime soon. Stubborn Lena still refuses to give up. Another 6 months passed, and both turned 15. At this time, Glogus had already been removed from power. One day, Manny got a high fever and was in dire need of help, so Lena begged one of the bandits to provide a bowl of soup, or even half a bowl. The bad guy agreed and provided a bowl of soup to Manny. Afterwards, he tried to take Lena to a private place, but Manny threw the hot soup on his face and took Lena to run away. The bandit got up in raging in anger and tried to stab Lena. Manny took the knife for Lena and told her to pursue her dreams instead of crying over a girl who never had anything to look forward to. The bandit now turned towards Lena to kill her as well. Pinned to the ground, with knife so close to her neck, Lena had still not given up. As soon as Jared was reported about the slavers in mines, he immediately set up with an army of knights to silence these slavers. Using his knowledge of best strategic place to hide, Jared found their hideout immediately, and the orders were simple: free the slaves and kill all enslavers. Bandits' hideout became their prison, which they could no more escape. The only fate they could meet now is to be killed by a knight's sword. As Jared explored the cave, he found a girl, pinned to ground, about to be killed, and Jared used his fire magic to burn that bandit. Hence Lena was saved. It was already too late for Manny. Jared regretted coming in too late. He could have saved her if only he was a bit faster. As Jared was consoling Lena, Ched, the leader of these bandits, entered and disrespected Jared by calling him a fat pig. Ched was not weak like other bandits, so one simple spell would not work against him. Knowing this, Jared casts a haste spell, the spell which increases the acceleration of your body. Ched bursts out in laughter as the so-called king was about to flee, but he didn't see what was coming. Using this spell, Jared started running in circles around Ched, leaving no place for him to escape. Suddenly, punches and other spells started coming to Ched from all directions, and just like that, he was killed. With this expedition, Jared got more loyalty points, and as they had finally reached 100, Caribia was now about to enter the Golden Age. All kidnappers and murderers were dealt with, and the slaves, including the former slaves, were reunited with their families. Well, not all slaves were sent back. Lena was an exception. Jared gave her permission to stay in Caribia as she might be sold somewhere else again by the director of orphanage at Majorica. Jared told her that he had been looking for talented youngsters to work with them in future, so he will be grateful if she agrees to come to Caribia. Moreover, he promised to make her a skilled swordsman. Lena, upon hearing the opportunity to finally pursue her dream, burst out in joy and promises to meet his expectations. Even though it seemed that Lena was lucky to find Jared, the truth was, in actual, the opposite. It was Jared who never expected to meet Lena Geisel, an important vanguard for the Demon King in the Great Stallion War. Many players simultaneously attacked her, and with a smile to her face, she defeated them all. The fortress she defended was impossible to break through, and no one, no matter how strong, could pass through. Jared was lucky to find her, and he was set on making sure that Demon King never finds her, and she's on the right side this time. The next challenge in front of Jared was the state of Majorica. A territory with tons of illegal activities will surely have adverse effects on his territory as well, so he needs to come up with a plan to deal with Majorica. Jared is not the only one thinking about others' territory. The king of Majorica, who is apparently a huge guy with evil aura all around him, is also fed up with so many compliments directed towards Caribia. Frua, a noble of Majorica and a friend of Graga's, smirked and told the king that he will be having revenge for his close friend. A mysterious hooded man sneaking through the roofs in the territory of Caribia is seen. Making sure no one notices him, he drops the bag he was carrying in a street and gives a malicious grin. Early in the morning, Jared is exhausted with the running, while Lena, even in the last lap, is full of energy. At the breakfast table, Jared received 2 letters. One of them was from Oren, which informed him about the successive cultivation of a crop named Latrilla. The other one was from Avila, who attracted more monster hunters in Caribia and was selling them mana stones obtained from defeating monsters. In short, the expenses were cut short and sales were doubled. A knight rushed towards Jared and reported him about the monsters being thrown in the different streets of his territory. Jared immediately realized that this was done by an outsider, but was still not sure who and why would he do this. Some voices were heard of a kid nagging a merchant to help her mom. Jared inquired about the medicinal herb she was looking for. Her mother had Ronella's disease, a disease impossible to cure. This disease is basically Paradiso's tuberculosis, whose origin is from Ronella territory and can either be cured by blessing of Pontifex or a potion from Athema Empire. Jared went to the kids' home to have a look at her mother, Mary. They were a poor family living in an old house. The Mind Eye estimated Mary's lifespan to be no more than 7 months. Mary immediately recognized Jared, as she was once called in his mansion as chef 8 years ago. Jared asked her whether her daily life included dealing with monsters, and she told him that she was chef in a high-rank expedition team that dealt with selling monster corpses. Then, Hayes and Lena brought all the herbs Jared asked for and requested Mary to trust him. The mysterious man who threw these monsters came back to the crime scene and was spying on Jared from above. However, Jared had already predicted his return. Jared was busy in creating a new medicine for this disease while on the roof. Mysterious man's hunt was going on. This new medicine wouldn't be used in Paradiso until 10 years, but as Jared already had knowledge of the future, he decided to make it right now. Upon asking why Jared was going to such limits for a commoner, he replied that his mother had also died from cancer, and to this day, he is still angry for how he didn't have the power to cure her until it was too late. The mother he lost was not Jared's mother, but Shin Tipong's mother, her real mother from the real world. Although it happened 15 years ago, he still remembers the frustration and helplessness, just what Mia, Mary's daughter, was feeling right now. Meanwhile, the mysterious man and Jared's chief guard are fiercely throwing their swords at each other. The sneaky spy was evading all the forceful attacks, and finally seeing the opening he was waiting for, he went for the knockout ninja kick. Sir Lucas Rakis didn't even try to dodge and was even more devastated at such a weak man trying to go against King Jared. Spy couldn't believe how strong Lucas is. It was his special inclination that gave him the edge in one-on-one battles. His special abilities of orderliness and justice makes him go berserk against evil people. The spy intended to kill anyone who discovers him, but seeing how he would never be able to defeat Lucas, he decided to take a step back and flee. Releasing a smoke bomb, he managed to escape. 2 days later, Jared, wearing a cloak and fake mustache, was teaching Mia the two methods of lumping mana together: simple associative method and forced condensation method. Former is a basic method while latter is for situations where evil magicians corrupt the surrounding mana, and first method becomes impossible to be used. Mia realized the importance of both methods and proceeded to make fun of Jared's fake mustache. Door was knocked and their lecture was cut short by Hayes, who called them for breakfast. The breakfast was cooked by the new chef Jared hired, Chef Mary. In a scene change, we see a room full of mana. In the center of the room sits the man emitting all this mana, a golden-haired young guy with charming looks and slim body. This guy is none other than our own Jared, who has finally gotten rid of the obesity. People always look for shortcuts, but using shortcuts to pave your own path is what distinguishes Jared from others. Jared has successfully created his own method of training. This mana operational training method is the mixture of a bug training method and a magician's mana training method. System asked Jared to name his new method and Jared named it as Solo Bug Player. Isabella, who has been by Jared's side since their contract, was very intrigued with Jared's unique approach. She proceeded on noticing a flaw in this method. No one from this world can draw raw mana in his body like Jared, so Isabella concluded that he is not actually from this land. As soon as Isabella's words left her mouth, Jared turned pale and confusingly asked what she meant. Isabella moved on, guessing if he is from another continent, as she has heard rumors that people from Eastern Continent are good at mana manipulation. Jared sighed in relief and backed the rumor Isabella heard so she can stray further away from the truth. In actual, Eastern Continent was an expansion that developers worked on for 5 years, but unfortunately, Jared, or should I say Shin T-Pong, died before its release. Realizing how much fun it has been for Isabella since she has been by Jared's side, Isabella became more and more interested in him and suggested that they should talk more to each other. After all, no one other than Jared can see her, as he is the only one with mind eye. Jared thought that she wants her mind eye back, so he reminded her that the mind eye is his now. Isabella blushed and told him that he can keep the mind eye forever and consider it as a gift from his future wife. Jared couldn't believe what he was hearing, and Isabella proceeded that his looks were the problem at first, but now that he has lost some weight, Isabella, who died as a virgin, can take Jared as her partner. She then reminded him that they have already had their first kiss. Seeing where the conversation was heading, Jared ran out of the room, stating that he must leave for the Ronella territory now. On their way to Ronella, Hayes read the letter from Sir Lakas to Jared that Lena's progress has been going great, and in a month, he will have nothing more to teach her. Seeing how close Lakas's expiration date is, Jared starts to shortlist other teachers for Lena. All of a sudden, an arrow penetrates the glass of Jared's carriage, and just before it was about to hit Hayes, Jared used magic shield to save her. Jared suspected that bandits were behind this ambush. More arrows were being shot, and even though Jared has been easily handling the defense using shield magic, Hayes threw herself in front of Jared to use her body as the shield. Jared scolded her on her recklessness and ordered to stay put in the carriage. He went out to see who dared to ambush him. Isabella offered her help, but Jared refused, saying he can handle it himself. Jared used a shield screen and moved towards the ambushers. The ambush was led by Tog, known as predatory murderer of magicians, on request of a certain masked man. Jared heard it and figured that it might be the same masked man who fought Lakas on the roof. Tog rushed towards Jared with a rotation/attack, and in the blink of an eye, Tog was in front of Jared. Jared responded with haste magic and used a magic missile, which was immediately put out by Tog, and he took a hard hit at Jared. Jared casted a shield which protected him and complimented Tog by saying that his name is not just for decoration, he actually is strong. Tog couldn't believe how Jared defended against his hard blow, so he kept attacking to avoid giving Jared any opportunity to counterattack. Just when Tog thought he would make Jared run out of mana, Jared easily caught his magical artifact, a dual-faced axe. As Jared did not have any artifact, he told Tog that he will be taking this. Tog couldn't believe how easily he had been overpowered, and he could see his fate, so he tried to bargain for his life by offering the information of his client, the masked man. Jared was also curious about the masked man, but he would never trust the word of a criminal, so he used Tog's axe to land to go for the killing blow. After these, we see a young merchant locked in a carriage, thinking about the saying that goes, "A merchant without money won't be able to buy any luck." This merchant goes by the name Aki, who couldn't afford better guards and now will have to die at the hands of Tog. From the bars in the door, Aki saw the masked man handing over a bag full of coins to Tog and giving him the task of killing a medicinal merchant. The masked man figured that the medicine Jared made cured the whole Caribbean, and as it is easy to make, he will go to Ronaldo gain their favor in exchange for this medicine. Hence, he brought Tog to his route and promised to pay the 2/3 money after the job is done. Aki was still locked in Tog's carriage and was hoping for a strong man to revenge the people Tog has killed. Upon witnessing Jared's single blow that ended Tog's life, Aki was amazed at the sight of a warrior who will save him. Aki gave Jared a thank you hug and was so impressed that he wouldn't let go. Aki heard about Caribia's magic stone, so he set on path to buy it for himself but was ambushed and robbed by Tog on his way. Jared apologized for the lack of security, but Aki was already too overwhelmed with his life being saved. Aki, or Archnes, is actually a top NPC from Eastern Continent who bought a kingdom using his astronomical prosperity. He had a really good eye for market trends and would always manage to be the pioneer of new trends. New players who would register as merchants would often try to follow his leads. Jared is now confused on what is such a large figure who is supposed to be an Eastern Continent doing on northern border, specifically his territory. Jared could not waste such an opportunity, so he proposed Aki a deal. He would pay 15% commission of all the profits Aki would make by selling Jared's product in Ronella territory. Aki thought for a moment and proposed a different deal. Instead of 15%, he asked for his 2 wishes to be granted. For now, Aki only disclosed one of his wishes and saved another for next time. His first wish, which he disclosed while blushing, was for Jared to call him by his nickname, Aki. There were some censored words from Isabella in the background at this point. Ronella territory was not as dull as Jared expected. Instead, it was a lively territory which had a great potential for big future developments once the Ronella disease is taken care of. Aki helped Jared in setting up his business at a great spot. Jared set the barrel that contained the medicine, however, there was a systematical limitation. A small bottle was filled from the tap at bottom of this barrel and no more can be obtained till 24 hours. Jared handed the bottle to Aki and asked him to get a contract signed by the buyer as well. That contract would transfer the ownership of this medicine to the buyer. Aki found a guy named Talon who was suffering from Rolina's disease, and with his exceptional salesman skills, he sold the medicine to him for a low price of 1 gold. Afterwards, he got his signature on the contract, and for Talon's satisfaction, Jared promised to pay him 1,000 gold coins if the medicine didn't work. Aki then left to do some advertisement of their product. As the ownership of medicine has been transferred, that means the 24-hour limitation has also been transferred to the buyer, and Jared can produce more medicine. This is the production skill bug. Jared and Hayes had been waiting for 2 hours for Aki's return, and all of a sudden, they hear stomping sounds coming their way. A large group of people were running in Jared's direction, and in front of all those was our merchant, Aki. All these people were here to buy the medicine and were pushing each other to buy first. For today, people of Ronella can buy this medicine from Aki, but for future, they would have to visit Caribia. In Caribia, this medicine will only cost 39 gold coins instead of 100 at Adama Empire. Aki, quite efficiently, managed to advertise and sell Jared's product. The day passed and Jared was sitting in the hotel balcony at night, analyzing today's sales. 12,250 gold was earned in just 1 day. Aki sneaked from behind and asked for his compensation for today's sales. Jared remembered that Aki's second wish was still to be granted. What Aki asked for was to become his vassal and run a trading company under Jared's direct supervision. After watching Aki's performance today, Jared was already impressed by his skills and he was already aware of his potential, therefore he was already considering taking him as his vassal. Without any objection, Jared acknowledged his skills and agreed to his demand. Aki was filled with joy upon getting the deputy rank. With the production bug, Jared's skills rose to level 35 and got 2 extra skills. At this level, he could produce 24 bottles per day, which means at least 900 gold revenue per day. As this medicine is only sold in Caribia, number of visits from hunters has increased, and with that increased the number of mana stones incoming. Monster attacks on citizens decreased as well. Caribia territory, at this point, was prospering more than Jared had planned. Slowly, Caribia's fame was spreading all around. Alone on his horse, Jared was traveling to somewhere secluded. Isabella got worried about his travel to a place with no traces of human life and tried to, in her words, stop her beloved from committing suicide. Turns out, Jared was going out to catch the Lick de Luck. A Lick is a strong, cursed black magician who can imprison people's soul and turn them into undead creatures. However, Jared already knows how to defend and attack against de Luck, so he is confident. De Luck is a Lick who is sealed in the Silver Mountain, a fortress he made himself. De Luck's seal was lifted by Demon King in the Great War, and he was bestowed with an eternal life, and all of the players had to suffer the wrath of de Luck in order to proceed the main story of Paradiso. Once de Luck gets stronger, no magic or sword will be enough to defeat him, so the best time to strike is now. Upon hearing all this, Isabella got suspicious of Jared and asked if he is a god in disguise, for he knows way too much. Jared finally reached the Silver Mountain and started searching for de Luck. Apparently, he needs to find a small gap, and that will lead to a place where he will be required to climb high inside the mountain to get to Deluxe's place. However, this place is filled with traps, and for proof, many frozen corpses can be seen at entrance. Jared used the shortcut button, found a permeable wall, a secret passage that only he has discovered. This passage avoids the dangerous filled with traps route and leads directly to Deluxe. The secret passage led directly to the treasure room where players could only reach after defeating Deluxe. In this room full of treasure, Jared looked for a ring called Mistress of Greed, Melt. It is actually an infinitely expanding storage space. Isabella got cold feet as even she, an evil spirit, is no match for a Lick. Jared explained how they are not the ones stealing, instead they are taking back what Lick stole from humans. Jared wore another necklace and earring artifacts and proceeded to have the combat with Deluxe. Deluxe was a long-bearded old guy, chained to the seat of reflection where he was supposed to reflect on his wrongdoings, but instead, he was hoping to be freed so he could turn all of humanity into undead. Jared appeared from behind and surprised Deluxe with a fire missile attack. All his old man's skin got burnt and his real body, the skeletal form, was revealed. Surprised, Deluxe questioned how Jared passed through all those magical illusions and traps. The Lick Deluxe is a former wizard who exchanged his own humanity for eternal power and strength. As he has no physical body, he is forced to use a magical avatar which acts as a vessel for his life force. However, Deluxe lost his vessel to a saint and was chained to a body. Jared makes sure to keep distance between them while fighting to avoid his life-absorbing black magic. Jared has already fought with him a few times before while playing this game, so he knows the best approach. Jared's attacks alone might not have made any difference, but with the amplifier artifact he was wearing, the power was felt by Deluxe in his bones. Deluxe realized that this man should be killed immediately, so he tried to cast a spell, but Jared was aware of power of Deluxe's attack, so he attacked before Deluxe could cast the spell. Deluxe decided to take a different approach and ordered his knights to rise. He built this place, so he had engraved his knights around his seat. Seeing all those undead rising, Jared and Isabella both felt fear in their hearts. Jared rushed towards Deluxe to keep him engaged in a close combat that would prevent him from using high-level spells. Isabella took the responsibility of handling the undead, letting Jared go for the bigger fish, Deluxe. Isabella took the body of one of the undead and assisted Jared in moving forward. Using his connected lightning attack and by casting 2 spells at once, Jared took Deluxe by surprise and defeated him, just as he did while playing this game. Jared approached Deluxe and he tried to use his last shreds of power to take one last shot at Jared, which was easily dodged, and Jared delivered the killing blow, making a Lick have the taste of an actual death. However, Deluxe didn't die, instead he just got enraged and the sudden power show threw Jared back. It was the time for another round. Deluxe started to throw multiple attacks at Jared, leaving no room for him to counterattack. Even when Jared tries to cast a spell, Deluxe throws it away as it is nothing. Deluxe increased the magnitude of his magic to the level where Jared's shield broke down, and just when Jared was about to meet a deadly strike, Isabella saved him. Deluxe then eliminated the undead body that Isabella had occupied, and now it was one-on-one fight. Jared was somewhat surprised by such power, but he was still confident in defeating him as long as he is sealed. With a clear mind, Jared realized that like every other monster in Paradiso, Deluxe is also following the same attack and defense pattern. Therefore, Jared already knows all about him. Jared moved close to Deluxe and it was finally time for Jared to play his final card. Deluxe, who still thought that Jared was just a third-class magician, was now met by a fourth-class attack at its full magnitude. Jared finally succeeded in limiting Deluxe to nothing. Although he still refused to give up and die, there was no way he could be revived from the state Jared put him in. A 4th-class magician defeated a 9th-class magician and is seeing him die. Surely there must be something he wanted to gain, inquired the dying Deluxe. Jared disclosed that he desired Deluxe's most powerful symbol of monarchy. Deluxe couldn't believe what he was hearing. At the same time, he was amazed and was curious to see what Jared planned to do. Deluxe died and left behind a bracelet, the very artifact that Jared desired. Isabella was also surprised how Jared would not care how strong his opponent is and simply rushed to the battle. She then found a weird book lying on the ground. The title of the book was Lick Deluxe Revival Spell. Isabella asked Jared whether it was possible for the resurrected being to have a relationship with his master where it is impossible to disobey, and does the spirit die with the master as well? Both questions were answered as yes. Isabella was not happy not becoming a slave instead of having a bilateral relationship. However, this is not what Jared is after. What he wants is to raise their magic resistance and tolerance. For that, Isabella needs to tie up Jared, use curse magic on her and rinse and repeat. Isabella agreed and she took a human body for herself. Jared had to carry Isabella as she wasn't yet comfortable in this body of a beautiful girl with golden hair and red eyes. As they were finding their way out of the mountain, they found many dead bodies along the way. Luckily, most of the traps had been disabled. However, they were still wondering how the girl whose body Isabella owns right now died. Isabella wishes that this girl didn't become an evil spirit as it is tough and lonely. Moreover, she decided that she will use this body to enjoy the life to fullest by eating lots of delicious food and trying new dresses and makeup. Jared smiled as he was happy to have a lively and trustworthy partner like Isabella. Ronella's king is worried about losing more monster hunters from his region as most of them move to Caribia to get the cure and then some stay there for hunting. To tackle this problem, the king had spent a fortune to steal the cure, but they had not been able to get their hands on the recipe. Even after obtaining the sample, recreation of the formula is too difficult. If this is how Jared wants to play the game, then bring it on, says the king. The king of Mayorica is planning to go on war right away with Caribia, however, with only 1,239 skilled men at his disposal. War is still out of the window. He regrets not using Gragas to poison Jared in the past when he was still a fat idiot. To make sure Gragas does not spill truth about their alliance, Sir Perua sent an assassin to eliminate Gragas. King summoned Horgus, the great guide of Mayorica, who brought the magicians requested by the king. With them, an attack right away would wipe Caribia off this world. Meanwhile, Jared traveled with a small group of knights to the woods at the end of northern region, which was sandwiched between Mayorica and Ronella. Both territories have been quarreling to claim this land. Jared, however, has came to make a deal with the tribe that lives here, the tribe of Red Goblins. As soon as they reached Goblins' lands, Red Goblins immediately surrounded Jared and his men. Ivaneva, the leader of Goblins, came forth and greeted Jared. Ivaneva inquired the reason for setting up this meeting, and Jared shared that he wanted to establish diplomatic relations with them for acquisition of iron and gold. However, Ivaneva asked whether Jared had what they wanted. On his command, the soldiers brought loads of nightmare stones. These are beautiful stones commonly found by monster hunters in the nightmare forest and are almost worth nothing. Lakas and others got worried that the goblins might see this as their insult. To their surprise, Ivaneva absolutely loved these stones and thanked him greatly. The deal was signed by both parties, and they looked forward to growing their relationship more in future. On Ivaneva's order, goblins brought lots of supplies of iron and gold and handed over to Jared's men. Ivaneva signaled that he trusts Jared and there is no need to be cautious anymore, and from the shadow came out the Dark Elves, an extremely hostile race that lives further in the north. Ivaneva was an intelligent goblin with various connections to other tribes, and Jared's men finally realized that if they did attack the Red Goblins blindly, their bodies would have disappeared. Everyone celebrated the new brotherhood that was just formed. Jared asked Rakis about the current outlook of his army, upon which he told Jared that they are missing materials to forge new weapons for new recruits, so they have been focusing on repairing what they already have. Jared ordered him to put all focus in mass producing more weapons as soon as we take this iron from Red Goblins back home. Furthermore, he guided him to use a portion of gold to recruit more soldiers in the army and appointed Sir Rakis as the head of recruitment. Ivaneva realized that the purpose of this deal was so that Karabakh can go to war with Mayorica, which Jared did not deny. Instead, he apologized if goblins are offended by their main reason to create such a deal. Ivaneva also hated Horgus, and this amount of iron and gold was nothing for them, so they had no issue. It has been 4 weeks since Isabella, who now likes to be called as Isabel, was resurrected, and Jared introduced her as his classmate from the academy in Desmond Empire. She adapted to their lifestyle quickly and helped Jared in increasing his magic defense levels on daily basis using illusion magic, which shows what the enemy fears most, a spider in Jared's case. Through this, Jared's defense rose to 34 points. Jared extended his hand towards Isabella with 3 candies in the palm. According to Eastern Continent's calendar, he told Isabella 1 month after 14th of February, when a woman gifts chocolate to a man, the man has to do the same. Isabella liked how romantic it sounded and thought Jared was finally warming up to her, but in reality, he gave candy to every single woman in this mansion. Isabella reminded him how both of their lives are intertwined, and the contract is eternally bound by their kiss. She intentionally made their contract sound like a marriage contract. Jared, at this point, has finally met the minimum requirements of enlightenment to reach the 5th class. As war's preparation are going on, Jared's focus currently is on the Nurture project. This project has the goal of finding bright talents of future, the big characters in the events that will be happening soon, and recruiting them to his side before others get to them. Another advantage is that Jared receives bonus points as the teacher of new recruits whenever they progress. Jared has received most bonus points through Isabella. His other 2 students are Lena and Mia. However, there had been no progress with the person he decided to teach before all others, Hayes. A healer requires to be overwhelmingly focused, and this feature is so high class that there are only 5 healers in the entire Nasu continent. However, teaching Hayes to become a healer has been very hard for Jared. The main reason is that Hayes' mind and body are not one. She hasn't been able to accept herself as someone other than a maid. In the last 23 years, she has walked the path of a maid, so this is not surprising. Instead of pushing her, Jared decides to have faith in Hayes to do this on her own. Jared left his room with a new tactic to help Hayes, but on his way, in his own mansion, an assassin sneaked from behind and dealt him a deadly blow. Hayes and guard arrived at the scene quickly, but the assassin had disappeared. By the time doctors will reach, it will already be too late. However, Hayes took charge of the situation and tried to show her responsibility as a healer, with tears in her eyes and many memories flashing through her mind. Hayes pushed herself forward and was finally able to heal Jared. Hayes has finally become a healer. 30 minutes later, Jared confessed that there was no assassin, and it was just a tactic to help her. All three, Jared, guard and fake assassin, were given an earful from Hayes before she runs out of the room crying. To conclude, the nurture project is going smooth. Amidst the snowstorm, deep in the nightmare forest, Sir Rakis saw a man with a lamp. This was the man Sir Rakis came looking for. The old man took Rakis to his cottage and made him some tea. Apparently, they both know each other from long ago. Rakis gave him the medicine for Ronella's disease, as someone deep in Nightmare Forest might need it someday. Old man still couldn't believe how the cure has been made by such an incompetent leader. Rakis tried to convince him that Jared has changed, that he has learnt from his past, but the stubborn old man was not so easy to be persuaded to come back. Rakis insisted that they need veterans like him, and he can see for himself how much Caribia has prospered. Sitting in a lodge, Jared was enjoying the seafood with Hayes and Isabel, complimenting the freshness of food over and over again until Isabel uncovered the fact that the cold weather has stopped them from yielding any crops and seafood is their only option. However, Jared did make some fertilizers that might begin working anytime now. The place was packed with customers, and most of them talking about how Caribia has finally become a prosperous territory, and some monster hunters were talking about moving their hunting headquarters to Caribia. Among all these customers, a red-headed lady with sunglasses caught Jared's attention. This woman was Ella, an NPC warrior famous for helping players during the first Great Crisis, if players can afford her services. However, she will even side with Demon King if he pays her enough. By her side was the Queen of Silence, a 38-year-old NPC who emerges 5 years before the Great Stallion War as Queen of the Grey Elves, Chloe. This was too good an opportunity for Jared, so using his clever words, he asked both of them to a quieter place. There, Jared proposed 5,000 gold as down payment plus residence in his mansion in exchange for teaching a child, although he would need this deal to be written down and signed as proof. Ella was still skeptical on why Jared is trusting them. However, Jared made it clear that he does not trust them yet, but the only way to make them stay is by enticing them with money, which he did. Finally, the issue of finding a new teacher for Lena was resolved, but a new issue was in front of Jared. Earlier this day, Jared almost forgot how Chloe looked like, which means that he is losing memories of this world. Therefore, he decided to write up a journal on which he will pen down all the knowledge he has. To make sure no one else exploits his knowledge, he will be writing it in Korean language, a language unknown in Paradiso. With this, Jared's plan to counter both the crises continue. However, time for war with Majorca territory is finally here, and Jared has no clue what his neighbors are planning for him. And that's how the first part of this manhwa ends. Well guys, if you like this video and you want a second part, comment below with the word player. Also subscribe to the channel, hit the bell and like the video. But most important, leave a comment. Until the next video.